So y'all know what's funny? This episode of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, though not a lot really happened in terms of moving the needle forward on storylines. I mean, it did, but it didn't. Okay. Not in real major ways, but in small ways. And I would have to tell you guys that this was an episode that didn't feature, any guest stars from any other show. Um, it was rather enjoyable to me. This to me harkened back to old school episodes of Real Housewives where I really didn't expect much, but I just wanted to be entertained, and I was entertained, which is surprisingly. The only thing that I kind of feel like was interesting was that, Candy wasn't really a part of this episode, but she was definitely a big part of the episode, which is interesting in the way that Marlo has fixated on Candy. It's just very interesting to me. We'll talk about it when we get there. I'm gonna rate this episode on the scale of 1 to 10. I'm gonna rate it a 9.5. I enjoyed it. I had fun. That's the key. Like I was talking to you guys the other day about the Love and Marriage Huntsville episode, and I said, the episode contained a lot of meat. Well, I'm not really eating the meat right now, but I was thinking to myself, this episode was great because there was no meat on the menu. Okay. There was no meat on the menu. It was just a cluster F of fun for me as a viewer to watch it and to actually recap it. So let's go ahead and dive into what we got to talk about and what made it so good to me. Now, I know for a lot of y'all gonna be like, it was boring because ain't a lot happened. But I do feel like not every episode of a television show needs to have these bombastic moments. And sometimes it's best when the cast doesn't really try that hard, and nor does production. So we start the episode off with Kenya rehearsing with Manetta for the halftime show at the Magic City Classic football game that's going to be sponsored by Kenya Moore Hair Care. It's a sold out event and she wants it to be a viral moment. To me, the best viral moments are the ones that you don't really put that much thought and effort into, or the ones that just happen kind of naturally. Yes, at this point in time, we all know that there are companies out there and there are people out there that work to create viral moments. But I kind of feel like don't think about creating the viral moment. Just go and do what comes naturally to you. Kenya is naturally a performer. You can tell that. So just go and do the doggone thing. That's what made, maybe she meant to make Gone with the Wind fabulous a moment, but it felt a little more natural at the time that she did it. So I feel like don't worry about necessarily creating a moment as much as creating exciting experiences for yourself. That's how I'm trying to live at this point in my life. Just creating exciting experiences for myself. And if other people love it, then that's great. As long as I enjoyed it, I think that's really the ultimate marker for whether or not it was really a moment or not. Okay. But anyway, I digress. She reflects on falling at BravoCon, which, I didn't attend BravoCon, so I really didn't know about this moment. I think we had seen glimpses of it on television, and people had posted stuff, from BravoCon, obviously. But she wants to really recover from that moment. And it was great to see Kenya in a humble moment talking about a moment where she didn't do so well, or she felt like she didn't do so well. And she was able to make fun of herself. This is what I like to see from my housewives, like someone who is either slightly delusional or somebody who can sit back and say, you know what, that was pure comedy. I was trying to make a moment and it didn't happen. Okay. Um, at this point, Roy FaceTimes Manetta. Okay, or I don't know who FaceTime who, but I was like, shouldn't he be FaceTiming Kenya? I would have liked that a little bit better. I thought I had put it up in here, but maybe I didn't. But yeah, so we get to see Roy, on camera doing some talking and whatnot. I want to see them on an actual date. To be clear, I really do. I want to see them not. I don't want to see him as Karen called Jamal. I don't want to see him through the phone. I want to see him in person, going out to dinner with Kenya. I want to see them doing a little kissing because she does let us know that they have done the do. So I'm like, okay, so let me see this chemistry on camera together so I can know it's real. Let me feel it through the camera and not through the phone. So anyway, she has not told the ladies that she's performing for the halftime performance, so nobody knows that yet. Again, she wants to create a moment. Sonia is meeting with her family, and she's going through all the things that she needs her brother-in-law to do, and the girl's schedule is actually packed. Now, this to me is where I would want to see. I want to see more of Sanya. I actually rather enjoyed these moments of Sanya. We get to see her schedule. We see that it's more than just these housewives events. There is things that are actually going on in her business and her life, and she is booked and busy. This to me is where I'm like, Sanya is starting to come into her own on this show, and she's appearing to me to be more natural. Now, granted, there may be some contrived elements to this family dynamic in terms of the brother-in-law quitting, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But for right now, the thing is, she needs to tell her sister that Rossi wants the house to just him and Sanya to themselves and for their family, and not having the Brady bunch in the house. But at the end of the day, I'm like, is he even around enough to really make that decision? Now, ultimately, yes. I mean, it's his house. He the man of the house. You know what I'm saying? He, got to say, obviously, in what goes on under his roof. And I don't blame him for that. But, if you know that your wife is alone a good majority of the time, for what it seems like on the camera, then why not have her family there? Why not? And I know I talk about it in such a way that it's like, comedy. But at the end of the day, if that makes her feel better and if it helps her, although maybe it ain't helping her, so never mind. I strike that from the record because this ain't the look. Girl, hire some outside people that that you can vet, that you can through an agency or whatever. Talk to Kenya about the girl that she bossing around, and find somebody like Caitlyn or whatever like that ain't gonna talk back to you. Okay. Um, the sister ends up getting mad. Okay, she's annoyed that she being kicked out the house. But I'm like, girl, if you don't want the man to work for her and you don't want to do the and you don't want to be doing work for her, then go on and about your business and get your own thing. Open up your own salon and whatnot, and have him open up his own concierge service. How about that? Do that, because you've already got the publicity from the show, and Sonya can help you in some way, shape, or form by advertising your services and whatnot. But maybe advertising those services ain't the best idea because y'all ain't really getting those things done right now anyway. So I digress. Strike that from the record too. Okay. Sometimes when I'm doing these reviews, I'm working through my feelings about it as I'm talking to you guys. So, pay me no never mind in that regard. Just, follow along as best you can, because it may be some twists and turns, some ups and downs, some digressions and regressions, but we're going to get there. Okay. So anyway, this is an interesting scene right here. And again, it goes to show Marlo and her fixation with Candy is getting to be unhealthy. And she might want to talk to Sharon about this. So anyway, Miss Sharon is the counselor. So anyway, she's prepping the boys for her Halloween shoot, and her sister stops by. Now, this to me is interesting. She talks about getting in trouble years ago, so she does go into a little bit of that, and how she has lost the right to bear arms. This is problematic for Marlo because she had a home robbery type situation happen, so she wants to get this expunged from her record so that she can go and get some firearms so that she can actually have some protection in her home. Okay. Which I think is fascinating. Okay, this part is fascinating to me. But we learned that Courtney, who is making herself very valuable to a lot of these people, okay, she has offered to have Marlo talk to somebody, an attorney, okay, and who can help Marlo in this endeavor. All right. Now, Marlo then says, but you know what? Worldwide Candy, who helps everybody, didn't bother to help her get her record expunged. Is that her place? All Courtney did was call up an attorney. You could have did that. I mean, to be quite honest with you, you might have had to go through a little bit of rigmarole to find it. But I mean, you could have had Sanya use her brother-in-law and call somebody and make a few calls, or had Kenya call Kate. Well, you can't call Kenya because Kenya ain't got your number. So I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. But I'm just saying that the connection that Courtney made, unless it was something specific. Side note: Courtney is the Olivia Pope of Atlanta. Did you know? Courtney is the handler? It's handled. Okay. Courtney is the crisis strategist. So if you need something done in Atlanta, call her. All right. And mind you, she's about to stop by. But they recap, Marlo losing her nephew, by some, and he apparently was pow-powed by somebody who worked at the OLG as well, and who was her nephew's roommate. So how this is all supposed to relate to Candy, okay? And so now she thinks that she's mad because Candy never sent her flowers 2 years ago. The sister's over there crying about it. Apparently, this is affecting their family in all types of ways. And now Marlo wants to know, why does Candy keep on having the shootings at her restaurants? Why does Candy keep on having the shootings? Okay. And excuse me, it's not even in her restaurants. Just why does Candy keep having these things happen? Okay. Let's talk about it. Is what Marlo's stance is. Let's talk about it. Let's find out. And I'm like, girl, you are reaching and your arms are too short. Okay. Because this is not working. This is not working. I listen. Again, I feel like if you got all these many issues with Candy and you got them and they are regarding your nephew, call her up and tell her, if this is your girlfriend, okay, if this is somebody that you care about or you claim to care about, then why don't you just call her up and be like, girl, let's talk, because this is really bothering me. I could almost understand that if she did that, but I feel like she's working around it in some weird way or shape or form. She wants Candy to talk about these things. But girl, if you got an issue with her, talk to her about your issue and stop expecting her to talk about something that happened to her and her cousin. I mean, her nephew or whatever like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that. This is so backwards to me, and it's given. I'm reaching for something to do. It is. Now, I do feel for her in the loss of her family member, because y'all know I've been advocating for Marlo to get the peach all these many years. I have been advocating. I have been on the picket lines for Marlo. But at the end of the day, I'm like, girl, you're gonna have to like do something else. This is not it. This is not it. And if this is it for you, then you need to talk to Candy about it instead of talking to anybody else with ears. Okay? Because Candy got ears too. So talk to her. Call up Don Juan. Talk to somebody close to her. Anybody. Okay? Apparently her whole family is sour with the taste of Candy's names. I thought Candy was sweet. Unless you're eating some sweet and sours. Some sweet and sour gummy worms. Them is the bomb. But they will scrape the mess out of your tongue. Okay. Anyway, her sister crying and emotional. Candy is literally the cause of all of her family's struggles. Oh Lord. And how dare Candy bring up the incident with the girl that Marlo had when she had done that to that girl's face. That girl, according to Marlo, okay, according to Marlo, that girl passed years after that incident. I don't know about y'all, but that sounded mad insensitive to me. I'm like, Marlo, wrong road, lay archive. So anyway, Sheree goes to see her OBGYN about some fibroids. To me, again, another great subject to touch upon, especially for the audience that is watching this show. From what I understand, fibroids is something that disproportionately impacts black women. So for me, I don't care how many times this story plays out on a show. This is something that's good to showcase, because it shows how women can deal with these issues, options for them, because I'm sure there are other women who are struggling with these things. And I learned so much about, well, I won't even essentially, my sister has had to deal with those types of issues. And, it's just been painful to watch her go through everything that she's had to go through. Let me just say that. It's been a struggle. Okay. It's been a struggle. But it's nice to see that Sheree is having these conversations, and they're showing it on camera, and they're going through and they're showing, apparently lemon-sized fibroids. And the doctor explains to her that she could be down for about 6 to 8 weeks in terms of like not working out and not being able to do the relations with her man Martell, as she does call him her man. Sonya has a photo shoot and her sister is sick, i.e. her sister don't feel like working with her because she mad because she being kicked out the house. um Also, the brother-in-law quit. And all of this is straining her relationship with her sister. Sonya feels guilty because she was trying to build, with her family. But girl, sometimes you can't do that. You cannot feel responsible for everybody else's success because you are successful. At a certain point in time, it's like if they don't want to work with you and they don't like the hours that come along with it, then you gotta chop them. I mean, it's got to be a chop, chop, chop. You know what I'm saying? Chopsticks. Sorry for you. Go back to just being my sister and you can live someplace else. Kenya is packing up and giving her assistant mad instructions. I mean, this is the assistant episode. Okay, they need an agency. I don't know about anybody who lives in the Atlanta area, but this is a business idea for you. You should start some type of concierge service where you provide assistance for these people who work on reality television, and they need to be good, okay? Because the way Kenya was talking to that assistant, I mean, and the graphic artist last week, ooh, baby, I don't. Is she always like that? Does she always talk to the people that work with her like that? Because, girl, I'm like, you doing a lot. But listen, I'm not mad at her telling Caitlyn she gonna have to have the little tracking thing on, because if you got my child with you, I need to know where you at every minute of the day. So I'm not mad about that. As we learned that as they're heading to Birmingham, we're not going to see Martell because he got the kids. I did wonder about that, and so Sheree did answer that question. They meet at Sheree's house because Kenya's driveway is down in the pits. Literally. I mean, and I don't mean that with any shade. I mean, it's just basically she don't even want the van to come down there. Okay. Kenya's a bit sick. Drew got the flu, and Candy got some awards that she got to go to for the Ebony Power 100. Okay, so she booked and busy. Miss Worldwide got things to do. Kenya's asking, what's up with Drew to Courtney, because Courtney is cousins with Ralph. But Kenya's like, well, how are you guys related? Who is the connection here? You know what I'm saying? And Courtney's like, I don't know. Well, Courtney, I'm gonna need you to know. If you're making this into a thing and y'all discover that y'all cousins, how did you discover that you were cousins? Unless you ain't real cousins, you only play cousins and you use this for a storyline. Okay. I need you, Miss Handler, okay, Miss Olivia Pope. I need you to come on with the details. All right. Kenya does miss traveling without her, crew, basically Candy. And I do think that this is an interesting dynamic for Kenya, because I feel like it's going to be great to see her with Monyetta and this also allows Monyetta her own opportunity to shine outside of Candy, so we can actually see what she can do, see who she is outside of Candy. And I honestly have to say that it's kind of refreshing to see what she's able to do. I think it's interesting when you put housewives in situations that seem unfamiliar, because then it forces them to like interact differently, right? And so, I mean, while I do wish that Candy was there because I think we're missing a slight dynamic, I do feel like it's interesting to see what happens when you put people in different situations. That is another reason why I felt like this episode was so good to me. One of the interesting, it was so funny hearing Kenya call Marlo Mumbles Marlo. That was funny to me. We learned that Sonya's gonna have to pop back and forth from Atlanta because she got some appearances. Kenya and Marlo got some kind of coughing thing going on. So, Sheree is sitting there looking like, girl, y'all not gonna be coughing on me all weekend, okay? Um, you know, the first stop is a dance studio where they're gonna learn how to buck or whatever. There's a moment where Kenya wants to walk off with Monyetta to go practice for her performance, and she leaves the girls in the room to practice they bucking. And Marlo calls Monyetta Kenya's emotional support companion. That I tell you, these were the little moments that I enjoyed. They were small moments, but I just felt like, this is fun shade. This is fun. It's light work. Sheree wins the bucking contest, although she wasn't nearly as good to me as Sanya or Marlo. Marlo was actually probably the best one based on what I saw, because she got them mega knees and she can get down to the flow. Okay. So then they go out to eat. And, this is where Kenya learns that Courtney's baby daddy is Bryce from Groove Theory, who she also worked with in Twa. So they hand her the phone to talk to him. And Marlo and Sheree are interesting as they're watching Kenya talk on the phone with this man. And I'm wondering if they're going to make a big issue about it later, because the producer asks if Kenya has ever been with the man, okay, or not. And it's interesting because she doesn't really answer that question. So I wonder if this is going to come back up later. Um, So as they get to lunch, I mean, as they're about to eat their lunch, Sheree wants to know who was getting along and who was getting along and who didn't get along. And the whole situation comes up with Drew and Marlo because apparently Drew told Kenya what happened between her and Marlo. And so anyway, things get a little bit tense. And just because Marlo's like, you weren't even there. Drew told Kenya that Marlo was standing over top of her and was mad aggressive, but the producers show that Marlo was actually sitting down and not standing over top of Drew. But that's not actually accurate either, because before Marlo left, she jumped up in her face, and she was standing over top of her because she's taller than Drew, and she yelled, about her nephew, and then she ran out the building. And even so much, when you go back and watch that scene, there's somebody there. I don't know if he's a producer or a bodyguard or what. He almost looks like he's going to have to grab Marlo before she does something to Drew. Now, I'm not saying that I don't think she had any intent on hitting Drew, but she definitely was standing over top of her, and she definitely got in her face. Okay, so I disagree. At this moment in time, yes, the producers are accurate, but the scene goes further than that. So I feel like, yeah, I mean, Marlo says she wasn't aggressive and she wasn't standing over top of her, and she's right. At one point she wasn't, but at one point she was. So she's wrong in that regard. Kenya and Marlo have a tense moment, and it's just kind of the same old rigmarole. We learned that there's a cocktail reception coming up next. Oh yes, I mean, and it's going to be. I think this is the charity function, and this is going to be just ooh. I mean, it's about to be the Met Gala, okay? But it is not the Met Gala. Okay, it looks more like a casual night at TGI Fridays. I mean, no shade to anybody that was there at that event, but it did not look I mean, Kenya hyped up the event to be something more than it was. And maybe that is what she was sold that it was going to be. And I think this was being billed as, maybe something that she was either hosting or being some type of way recognized in the event. Essentially, she leaves half the group. She leaves Sanya, Manyetta, and Marlo. She left Manyetta because Manyetta came down in some type of silver romper that was not appropriate for the function. Although when they got there, Manyetta could have been wearing what she wore to rehearsal. Okay, no shade to the event. Sheree is at the event looking just as lost as she was at Martell's event, okay, to be quite honest with you, because people are coming up to them asking, like, can they take pictures? I mean, the people are very interested in the group of ladies being there. That is 100% clear, okay? Asking for autographs, asking for photos. So when Marlo and Sanya arrive, they basically, Marlo wants to stunt a little bit, and I ain't mad at it, and order a bottle and some sparklers and send that to the table. Ain't nowhere to sit, mind you. It's just the cocktail type situation. And so at a certain point in time, Kenya's like, okay, well, let's go up to the roof because the view is amazing on the roof. Yes, cha cha cha. Okay. And so they get up to the roof. And so as they are trying to have a good old time, okay, production comes over and says, listen, y'all got to go. The people don't really want y'all here. The people that's running the event don't want y'all here no more. Okay? So y'all got to go because y'all are a distraction. It's the lights, the cameras, and the people are more focused on y'all than they are at the event. So Kenya got to break the news to the ladies that they got to go. And everybody looking around like, now what? Now say what now? Okay. Number one, they ain't want to be there. Number two, they're being kicked out of a place that they ain't really want to be. All right. So they get back at about 9, right? To get back at about 9. And Kenya is lights out. I'm wrapped. Okay. When the sun goes down, Kenya is out and she about to go spend some mommy and me time with her baby Brooklyn. I don't blame her. Listen. My friends all know, do not invite me out to the nighttime events. Okay. I tried this week and I really did. I put forth my best foot to try to make it out to an event that started after midnight. But as time went on, I said, I cannot do it. I was so tired from being out the night before. I said, I can't do these back-to-back nights no more. I just can't do it. All right. So I don't blame you, Kenya. I don't blame you, Miss Girl. So anyway, Sanya feels left out. And, for Marlo, she's like, well, she did this to us in South Carolina. She did this to us in Blue Ridge. So Sheree says, let's go to the room and knock on her door. I'm like, I don't know why they're doing this because it didn't work out for them when they was the last time that they did it. So anyway, when Kenya doesn't answer, Marlo get to banging on the door. Oh my God, this is not the move. I'm like, Marlo, you're doing too much right now. You are doing way too much. Now, I don't know if they knew that her daughter was in there with her, but I feel like that was rude AF, okay? And I wouldn't have blamed Kenya for coming out there and cursing all of them out, okay? AK a la Nene when they all showed up late to her place when she was in the Hollywood Hills, okay? She still knows how to get hood. Remember that? Um, so as Marlo's banging and stuff on the door, Kenya opens the door and goes slam off on her and tells them that her child is in there. So Sonya's like, okay, her daughter's in there, let's go. But Marlo is like, I don't care. She needs to put Brooklyn in another room and get out here with her broke ASS. And so you hear Kenya inside threatening to call the popo. Oh, yes. I ain't mad at her. I ain't mad at her not one bit. Marlo at this moment in time is again doing way too much, kicking and banging on this girl's door when she got her child in there. Marlo, number one, if you thought that that was going to be the way to get her out her room, you should have known that you know better. You know that's not going to get her out the room in the way you want it to. And then second of all, it's like, why would she open the door for you when you know that y'all don't even get along like that? All right. If anybody should have went to the room, it should have been Sheree. Okay. Or Monyetta, right? Sheree and Monyetta could have went to the room and be like, hey girl, we just wanted to see if you was like still, ready to turn up with us or whatever like that. And she could have told them, no, girls, I got my daughter here and I need to spend some mommy and me time. Okay. But I don't know. To me, I like this episode. It was fun. It was not too serious. And so that's where we are. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode down in the chatterization down below. And I will catch you in the next video.